Up St. Catherine Street, the Broadway of Montreal. Now, you ask anybody who lives here, what is the greatest theater, and they'll tell you it's right here, the Montreal Forum. It's the pride of Canada and the very soul of the NHL. Since the original Forum opened its doors November 29, 1924, it has housed more of hockey's greatest teams. Greatest players and greatest moments than any other arena in the world. Its tradition is unsurpassed. Just as the Forum is the soul of the NHL, the Canadiens' dressing room is the soul of the Forum. The great names, the Hall of Famers, are on the wall. Maurice the Rocket Richard, Jack LaViolette, Didier Petrie, and above them the Canadiens' theme. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. A large part of the romance of the Montreal Forum is the crowd.
I saw my first game in this building, goodness gracious, Christmas week of 1940. Can you believe? And they used to have brown seats here. The Canadiens were almost out of business, you know, around that time. And the hockey players who played there, I remember Ray Getliff telling me one time, we used to look up and see nothing but empty brown seats when we played. Well, now they're red, white, and blue, and they're not empty, I can tell you that.
They've established a spectator straighter system here at the Forum, starting with the red seats, which are the most expensive. This is where the elite meet to root, and you better be wearing a jacket and a tie. Up here in the blue seats, otherwise known as Nosebleed Alley at the Forum, jacket and tie are not optional. They're outlawed. But if you have one of these things in your hand, you're just about one of the boys. He scored! From the Forum in Montreal, Stan Fischler, Sports Channel.
I remember the first time that I was ever in the Forum, I did get the Campbell Conference Series with Calgary if they could get a few breaks to go their way. And for most of last night's fourth game at the stadium, the breaks came to Keenan's club until one fateful moment in sudden death sent the game Calgary's way.
After Saturday night's game-ending brawl, referee Andy Van Helleman policed Game 4 tightly, dishing out 18 penalties, the last of which could prove the costliest of the season for the Blackhawks. A delay of game on Chicago's Trent Yawney in sudden death. Calgary's Al McGuinness scored with 52 seconds left in that penalty to give the Flames a 2-1 victory and a 3-1 series lead.
I screwed up. That's hockey, I guess. I mean, it's a reaction type game. Hockey happens quick, and he shot it, and I wanted to just hit it out of the air, and it got in my glove, and Andy thought I hung on to it.
Calgary wins 2 straight at Chicago Stadium, perhaps the NHL's loudest and toughest road site. McInnes hopes he's seen the last of 1800 West Madison Street.
We didn't want to make it, hopefully didn't want to make another trip back here, and we just kept saying to one another, good teams find a way to win, and tonight, fortunately, it was my turn to score the goal, and I'm sure some other night it's going to be somebody else's turn.
Calgary has 3 games to wrap this series up, but the Flames will go into tomorrow's Game 5 anxious to close it out.
We got to approach it like a 7th game, and just like we approached this one, it was a 7th game for us. We had to come up big. We can't take this team out too lightly. They're a good hockey club. They're scrappers. They're not going to lay down and die by any means. We have to come out with the same intensity and the same drive.
Game 5 set for tomorrow night in Calgary. Flames can clinch. You'll see it here on Sports Channel United States on a temporary visa which runs out Friday. By petitioning for asylum, he must prove a possibility of persecution if he returns to his home country, while Soviet officials are contemplating desertion charges against McGillney, who carries the rank of lieutenant in the Red Army. Sports Channel America has become the national...
A team rich in tradition with 22 championships to their credit. This team is considered by many to have the tools to win it all. They dispatched an aggressive Hartford Whalers team in 4 straight and avenged last year's playoff loss to their hated rivals, the Boston Bruins. Now, Les Habitants will reach deep into their bag of tricks as they take on the Patrick Division champions and go for their 2nd Cup title in 4 years. The Stanley Cup Conference Finals.
Fast-breaking sports news and highlights. The answer is Sports Nightly. Join Lee Seidman, Darryl Brunette and Mike Breen before, during, and after each night's primetime event. You get updates on the evening's major sports events from the NHL to the NBA, baseball, and more. Plus, get expert commentary from our in-studio guests. Sports Nightly is cable TV's newest source for sports news, and you'll find it only on Sports Channel. Coming in
The siren goes to signal the two teams to prepare for the start of the second period of our game. Sutter a slash, a bench minor to Montreal at 4:02 of the period. Hextall high sticking at 4:56. McPhee a trip at 8:05, and Hextall high sticking again at 19:32. Those are the only entries on the scorecard thus far in the game tonight. A minute and 32 seconds of power play time coming up to the Canadiens here at the start of the second period. Ron Sutter conversing with Dennis Morrell about something, and Dave Poulin comes over as well. Flyers, I'm sure, feel that they had a good argument on Hextall's second penalty, if not the first one, because he was in the midst of the follow-through, it appeared, and normally they will let that go.
You know, the tough part about that, too, Mike, is that we've mentioned so many times, Montreal takes so few penalties. So when you're busy killing yours, you got to at least hope, oh, look at this. Boy, that was a giveaway in the slot that the Flyers got away with.
You know, and everybody's sliding around on the ice now, too, I noticed. Mark House checking his skate as play goes down.
But you get so few power play opportunities against Montreal that when you're busy killing your own penalties, you at least hope that the referee's going to make a decent call on it.
Here's Richer moving in. Sized up by Samuelson and pawed off. Up with it is Ryan Walter. To the back it comes to Chelios. Fires one. Knocked down. Rebound by Corson. And that one right into Hextall. Flipped back down by Dave Poulin. Out to get it is Rouen. Steers it back to Svoboda. 50 seconds to go on Montreal's power play. Ahead comes Peter Svoboda, flipping it in, and then he's tripped up by Brian Propp. Puck picked up by Hextall, and Hextall floats one. That is gloved down by Poulin. That got a 2-on-1. Over to Brian Propp, moving right in. Propp curls and then let a late shot go that was into the pad of Patrick Roy. Now it's Corson going in, trying to get away from Poulin. Couldn't center because of Chychrun. Centering pass now, and Poulin clears it back down.
Brian Propp had a chance to shoot that puck, and he waited simply too long. He ended up with no angle at all in a 2-on-1.
Here's Skrudland moving it along to Lemieux. Lemieux fakes the drive, chased behind by Karkner. Lemieux creeping, hands back to Chelios. His shot knocked down by Propp. Picked up by Chelios again. Chelios centered, but that is off Karkner. Overskated by Skrudland, but not by McPhee. Lays it back to Skrudland. Penalty time is up as of right now. Puck to Lemieux. Oh, and just arriving with the stick was Hextall. Robinson turns one. Picked up by McPhee and handed back over to Lemieux. Put it right into the pads of Hextall, and he'll hang on. So the Flyers have killed it off again. 18-17 to go in the second. We're still scoreless.
Near you.
Montreal came close at the Flyers' end. The Flyers came close at Montreal's end after this. Chelios' shot gets right into Ron Hextall, and Corson is standing right there. You know what happened? Brian Propp didn't have position on Shane Corson. He was a forward, and he dropped back in. It's so tough to defend against a guy that already has position between you and the net for that rebound.
Here is Gord Murphy for the Flyers. Had Mellenby moving away, and now will pass more conservatively toward him. Chopped away by Robinson, drilled right back in by Murphy, and then knocked away by Desjardins. Eric Desjardins moves it right back out along with Courtnall. Desjardins moves in further, and a pass went off of Wells, scooped up by Mellenby. Scott Mellenby, not much room, tripped up to the ice. Puck came along for Acton, and then falling down was Carbonneau. Now it is Murphy. Laying it back to Keith Acton, puts it on the stick of Ron Sutter. Has Wells moving up the wing. Puck deflected away, but followed up by Mellenby. Mellenby in deep, defended by Robinson. Acton forced right off by Desjardins, and Carbonneau turned it right back near Acton. Desjardins punches, Robinson takes, and puts it off the boards, and a 2-on-1 Carbonneau with Courtnall and Wells back. Carbonneau in, hits the post with the shot. Ron Sutter tries to bring it back. Across it comes for Acton. Couldn't chop it off of Chelios and further. Now is able to forehand one, but that flops to Robinson. A 2-on-1 for the Flyers, followed about a minute and a half later by a 2-on-1 for Montreal. Puck turned back over now for Keith Acton. Acton slugs one on to Mike Bullard. Here's Bullard, a shot, and that knocked down and held by Roy. 3:03 gone in the second. We have no score.
And you have to know the Flyers are wondering how many golden scoring opportunities they can miss and still stay in this hockey game. Montreal, they've been able to shut down, but Montreal here has their chance on a 2-on-1. Carbonneau decided to shoot. He pulled it. I don't even know if it hit the post, Mike. It looked originally like it did, but he may have pulled it even more than that. Meanwhile, at the other end, Mike Bullard comes back. I guess Bullard didn't think that he was going to be able to pull away from Chris Chelios, so he took that wrist shot from out pretty far. But, you know, when you're hot, pucks find a way of hitting you, and everything seems to be hitting Patrick Roy. When you're cold as a goaltender, the puck has eyes and can find its way through the smallest opening.
That was what Bullard was hoping for, I think, because it looked like he was going for a 5-hole shot. The Canadiens guilty of icing, and back down it'll come near Patrick Roy.
Kelly Eklund has not been given the room in this series that he was given a couple of years ago. Remember how he played against Montreal in the semifinals in 1987? 5 goals and 2 assists. In that one series. He doesn't have a point in this one, but that's how tight Montreal has been. It hasn't been Eklund, it hasn't been the Flyers. I seriously believe that the Flyers have played just about the same way they played against the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins in this series.
Competition level quite different.
Oh, really different. You're talking about not only a team that was top defensively during the regular season, but a team that is even playing better now than they did when they were number 1 during the regular season.
Oh, Bullard a pass, went away from Acton. Samuelson a shot, and that one snapped out of the air by Roy. Mike Bullard had Kelly Eklund, but just could not connect with him. And then Samuelson let the big shot go, and Roy has faced now the 9th Philadelphia shot of the game.
Well, even the guys that haven't seen a lot of ice time are still plugging away for the Flyers, trying to make it happen. This line features Kelly Eklund, Mike Bullard, and Craig Berube. Berube is at the left of your screen out front, trying to screen. But we have talked about Patrick Roy's coolness. Pretty cool on that one.
He is poised and ready, as it is Ryan Walter to take the draw with Poulin. Smith on the left, and on the right, Sinisalo. Back it comes, but Samuelson didn't see it coming, and so he and Howe have to retreat. Corson working along with Bob Gainey, and now Richer as Walter, after the face-off, headed to the bench. Poulin lays one right back across for Sinisalo, but that's grabbed off by Ludwig, put back into the linesman's skates, and so this one took a flyer hop, and it is Chris Chelios trying to play. Rolled it along, and Sinisalo took it over. Wedged off by Chelios. Sinisalo centers. Smith scores! Derek Smith! And the Flyers are on the board and have the first goal of the game.
And it is 2/3 of the line that has given Montreal the most headaches in this series. Remember, we mentioned that Scott Mellenby was replaced on this line by Ilka Sinisalo? Well, Sinisalo, big work in the corner. He beat 2 Montreal Canadiens. Derek Smith was able to get position out in front, but it's all Sinisalo's play. He dances over Chris Chelios' stick. Before anybody can get to him behind the net, that is Corson. Craig Ludwig has Derek Smith get position on him, and hard work finally pays off. So those golden opportunities that were missed, those are forgotten. The Flyers draw first blood, finally, and lead in a hockey game for the first time since Game 1 in this series.
Here is Green back, and an icing called against the Flyers. Smith gets his 2nd of the series, 5th of the playoffs from Sinisalo at 3:53. We'll be right back. You mentioned a break, Bill, and some of you at home may recall that the Canadiens had to play it back deep into their zone because the puck wound up going on an attempted clear-out by Ludwig off a linesman's skate. Chelios went back, and that was where Sinisalo outmanned and was able to work out in front. Here is Karkner, having that one chipped away by Green, followed up by Keith Acton, a backhander. It's shut off by Green. Turned right back out now to Mike Keane. Keane eyed up by Jeff Chikrin, takes some lumber from him, and Chikrin bangs Keane to the boards and glass. Puck thrown back along by Karkner, and bringing it back up is Al Secord. Secord with Acton, the trailer. Acton following through, sends one to Kerr, and he turned and shot it wide. Now it is Acton, leaned on behind by Svoboda. Kerr able to pivot away. Rolling it back along for Secord, who allows it to come to Wells. One-timer was wide, off the rail for Kerr. Gloves and controls. Pestered by Svoboda, it's Acton banking one off a skate to the front, and Roy turned it aside. Then it came to Bobby Smith, who just lays it along, and Wells will have to play at neutral ice. 5:02 gone in the second period. The Flyers have scored the first goal in the game in this 1-0 game and 3-1 Montreal series. Ahead with this comes Green. Up the wing and Naslund moving right in on a breakaway. Save made by Hextall. And mark that one down as important and a big 10-beller for Ron Hextall because the Flyers had just gotten the 1-0 advantage. Back up now comes Claude Lemieux moving in. His drive is deflected away by Wells. Pinching in is Grudlin. Dumps it along for Lemieux, but instead it is Murphy. Murphy pestered by McPhee. The puck laid back out to Ron Sutter. Sutter up the wing for Al Secord. Knocked down by Desjardins. Right in front of Mellenby with a shot, and Roy cat-like got across to block it away. Lemieux barreled into by Sutter. Ahead with it comes Eric Desjardins. Then over to McPhee. Fires, and that deflected to the glass. Scott Mellenby to move back out with it. This thing has opened up a lot, and here's a chance for Prop, but the puck came to Roy. That one played on the carom by Desjardins. Canadians looking flustered right now. Puck along for Lemieux. Couldn't get it by Howe. Then to Brian Propp, and around it comes to Sutter. Has Howe moving for the slot, but the pass is checked away. In comes Mellenby. Tries to control in his skates, but instead it's the veteran Larry Robinson handing it on to McPhee. McPhee with a pass for Lemieux, but that casually blocked away by Howe. Back comes Propp, hands back over for Mellenby. Mellenby a drive, and a stick save made by Roy. The puck sailing into the seats. With 13:24 to go in the second period. 1-0 Philadelphia.
There's nothing like the joy of playing for the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup Playoffs on Sports Channel.
Both teams with 5 shots in the first 6.5 minutes of this period. So that's 10 total. In the whole first period, it was 8 for Montreal, 7 for the Flyers. Here's Smith with a shot that went off of Chelios. Puck skated down and brought out by Corson. Fiddles a little pass over to Walter. Walter with a drive that is blocked away by Chychrun. Followed up by Corson. Shoved right into a teammate, Bob Gainey, by Smith. And walking away with it is Karkner. It is Jeff Chychrun following up with 13 minutes left in the period. Puck ricocheted over to Sinisalo. Couldn't finesse Chelios. Puck dumped off, and Smith with a drive, a one-timer that's right in on goal. Now Richer brings it back. Stefan Richer could not get by the Flyers' defense, and Poulin brushes it ahead. Here comes Smith again. Has Sinisalo paid to him. Oh, and he shot a wide rebound. Is off Roy in the crease, but he's able to recover and hold on. Nearly 2-0. The Flyers had a big chance, but could not capitalize.
Boy, Ilka Sinisalo had a perfect feed. In Sinisalo's defense, these are harder to one-time the way he tried than they look. If you stop it and then snap it up, you've got an easier time with it. But I don't know if you could see how quickly Patrick Roy got across his crease. We'll see it here. Watch Sinisalo. He bops it one time to try to get rid of it right away, and then Smith could simply shovel it out front. Meanwhile, Corson is trying to take Karkner out of the play. But the Flyers have had great opportunities of late, and you're right, Montreal is flustered. This game belongs to the Flyers right now. They've got to get something else up on the board.
Peter Svoboda hands it on to Courtnall, but Green has to go back, and Mike Bullard on him. Mark Howe will go skating back for this to take from Hextall. With 12:25 remaining in the second period of our game. Derek Smith, the only goal scorer in the contest. That at 3:53 of this second period. Berube swooping back on Green, shoves him off. Mike Bullard follows up, but Carbonneau tightly on him. They waltz around, and in comes Berube. Nudges it along to Bullard, then to the point. Samuelson, his shot deflected wide by Eklund. Svoboda picks it up and hands back on to Courtnall. Then across for Ryan Walter. Plays the carom, shoveling on to Carbonneau. Tries to finesse Howe, and it's scooped away by Mike Bullard. Peter Svoboda quickly back across to Green. And Rick Green plops one over the shoulder of Samuelson. Back to one-time drill it along to Berube, and he floated it out of play at the Canadiens bench. So play is stopped with 11:43 to go in the second period. Across the way, Samuelson having some words with some of the Canadiens. We'll return in just a moment. Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel.
The Patrick Division champion Philadelphia Flyers, a team with a heart as big as their reputation. They put the Washington Capitals on an early summer vacation in a feisty 6-game affair. Then, despite a heavenly 5-goal performance by the magnificent Mario Lemieux in Game 5, the Flyers bounced back against the odds to defeat the Penguins in 7. Now they're trying to reach the finals for the 4th time in this decade. The Stanley Cup Conference Finals on Sports Channel.
Play back in. Larry Robinson flips beyond the leaping Prop and Keane. Up the boards to Bobby Smith. Checked by Prop, and Larry Robinson takes it. Feeds one through to Keane. Watched by Jay Wells. Keane pressed to the boards by Wells. In goes Sutter. Hit from behind by Naslund. Puck picked up by Smith to Naslund. Oh, and getting a piece of that one was Hextall. Now it is Gord Murphy shoveling over for Prop. Up the wing to Mellanby, moving along with Sutter, but it was Robinson who arrived ahead of Mellanby and flipped it out of play. Ron Hextall came up big again and keeps the score at 1-0 Flyers.
One of the reasons the Flyers have dominated this game so far is the fact that they have made contact far more than Montreal. Scott Mellanby continues to bang bodies around, but when you look at Mellanby, you got to feel that he'd have a hard time buying a goal if he had $1 million in small unmarked bills right in his pocket. He has had that kind of luck in this series. Here's the save that Hextall makes on Matt Naslund, the second save on Naslund. Naslund was in all alone a couple of minutes ago.
Did that go off Murphy, too? I don't know, just the way it caromed, I thought maybe it might have. Mellanby got those aggravating stitches taken out of his lip today, and now we have Secord tied up with Claude Lemieux. And now Lemieux comes back with a right glove, and Secord responds, and a crowd gathers. Dennis Morel will likely take both here.
Claude Lemieux tried a little playing dead tactic there, and it pretty well worked. He just slumped over as if he wasn't going to do anything, and when Al Secord let up, Lemieux swung around. But it will most likely be coincidental. When I say dominate, I'm talking about the second period. This period has belonged to the Flyers. They came out and killed that penalty. The first period was pretty easy, but there's what Secord got after he had let Lemieux off the hook. Paul Holmgren has pretty well used 4 lines, but instead of putting Bullard, Berube, and Secord out of his as his 4th line, he has put Pelly Eklund at center with Mike Bullard on the right side. Look at these penalties here. Roughing. Eklund at center, Bullard on the right side, and Berube on the left side, and he's worked Al Secord into some of the other lines. So he's using all of his bench, but he's mixing the lines up as he goes along.
Gee, Robinson turned right away from that play. Now Karkner banking one in, and Acton is there. Chased off by Desjardins, and Desjardins holding Acton's stick, able to steer away. Desjardins passes on to Mike McPhee. Watched by Chychrun. McPhee for Courtnall, but across to Skrudland. Popped one to the front and went after it, but it is Courtnall. Feeding in close quarters to Skrudland. Couldn't center because of Chychrun. Chychrun moves in, belts Skrudland from behind, and to a side continue the battle. It's poked along now to Terry Karkner. Lays one further, but Desjardins is there. Spun one across the goal mouth wide. Pivoting is Skrudland. For Courtnall, tightly checked by Pelly Eklund. Now Eklund moves toward it, but Desjardins pinched in. Courtnall a shot! Oh, and he had a good one-time blast, but it went into Chychrun. Now Robinson throws one to the front, but it's Karkner back up to Acton. Keith Acton up the wing now to Pelly Eklund, sized up by Desjardins. Eklund given a good hit by Desjardins, and it's spun back out by Courtnall, though off of Skrudland. Sinisato glides back down to play it with a pass that went beyond the reach of Howe and over 2 lines to Dave Poulin. And again, play is halted here at the Forum in Montreal in a very aggressive chess match. And there have been a few more openings here in the second period than we saw in the first.
They sure have. And, you know, one of the advantages of having the lead in a hockey game, and you don't really talk about it very much, is that you're able to continue to rotate 4 lines usually, as long as you got good balance. Bob Gainey is a member of a balanced line. He's the guy you're looking at right now, and he's the defensive member of his line. But that has been what Burns has been able to do in the games that he has led, just roll his lines over one after the other. Paul Holmgren is able to do that when he has the lead as well, but as soon as you fall behind, sooner or later you got to shorten your bench and put the guys out there that have a little better skill than the other guys and hope that they help you catch up, get back into the game. But that's an advantage that you don't talk about very often, but it still exists. When you lead, you can continue to use your bench.
The team scoring the first goal in all prior games in this series has won the game. 1-0 Flyers ahead with 9:50 to go in the second period. Hextall sets it up for Howe. Flyers with 6 shots in this period. The Canadiens with 5. Both teams with 13 on the game. Chris Chelios pivoting here. Matched up with Ludwig on defense. Richer, Corson, and Gainey the front line. Chelios sends one off the glass. Hit a glass support and came out to Howe. Howe shoved off by Richer. Flips one off the glass. Sinisano. Nice steer back out to Dave Poulin. Up the wing, he's got Derek Smith. Feeds over for Smith. He has to go in deep to play. Good shoulder check there by Chelios. Derek Smith still fighting for it. Tries to get out in front, but can't. It's forced off him, and Bob Gainey tries to flip it into Samuelson. Dumped along by Smith. Back to get it is Poulin. Knocked down on the play by Ludwig. And Ludwig turns it back across to Richer, who starts back out. Gives back on to Corson. Corson trying to get by Samuelson and can't. Stepping to this, Poulin. What a hit by Bob Gainey, and the two of them give way. Now Chelios in a shot. A save by Hextall. Rebound. Gainey couldn't get a shot away because of Poulin's checking, but it'll be a hooking call coming up against the Flyers, and now Poulin pawing with Corson. So Montreal will get another power play when we come back. The Flyers leading midway in the second, 1-0. For the Flyers to kill it off, Howe and Samuelson, Sutter and Propp, as Poulin is boxed for hooking at 11-11. Smith has Keane on the right, Naslund on the left. Svoboda and Chelios the point men. All down in a heap, the puck squirts loose, and Ron Hextall is up with it. And Hextall just gliding out further, now lifts it back down the ice. Well, Bill, you mentioned that Hextall would have to have a good game tonight. A very strong game, one of the strongest of the playoffs, and thus far he's done just that. Here's Chelios hammering one that skipped wide of Hextall. Hextall now lifts it again back down. Half a minute gone.
Montreal is helping Ron Hextall right now. They're playing right into that big gun that he has always cocked back there. If they don't start dumping it in with a little better decision-making behind it, Hextall is just going to continue to eat him up.
Mats Naslund in. Puck flipped along by Shell Samuelson. And it's held to the boards, and then Samuelson knocks down Bobby Smith, and the two of them were adversaries also in the first period, but play is stopped.
You know, in a very tough physical series, Shell Samuelson has been an underrated force for the Flyers. Montreal has rendered most of the Flyers pretty invisible. You know, that Derek Smith seems to stand out in my mind. Mark Howe stands out, and the big guy, Shell Samuelson, has done a yeoman's job back there, making contact with everybody that comes near him. Here he is pushing Bobby Smith out of the play so that puck could be frozen in the Flyers' corner. You know, if Montreal digs that puck out, they turn around with a numerical advantage. When you're down a man and you know it's a 2-on-2 in the corner, if the opposition gets that puck out, you know that they're looking at somebody wide open out there.
I'm not sure why they do this here. It'd be like applauding Mass at the Vatican. They have a scoreboard here that is saying bruit, meaning noise. Montreal fans normally never need to be encouraged to make noise. Here's Ron Sutter. Ryan Walter on the faceoff. Puck turned along by Samuelson. Sent further by Ron Sutter. And striding for it is Propp, but Chelios comes by. Walter will have to go back. Chelios is there to start to bring it back up ice. Propp has to hurry to get back into play as he had gone down. Now on comes Chelios. creeping along the line. Chris Chelios lays it off the boards, and it is Walter in. Sutter right on him. Mark Howe is there as well. Carbonneau trying to start away. Gets body position on Howe, but Samuelson came over to cancel. Now it's Courtnall. Back to Svoboda. Drive, and that one slowed by Ron Sutter to the corner. It's Prop. Drills one along the Chelios. Hurries back across. Svoboda moving in and a drive, and a save made by Hextall. And he's able to hang on with the help of Mark Howe. 35 seconds yet for the Flyers to kill. Hextall makes a slot stop.
Well, Montreal has only had 15 shots now on Hextall, but when you're able to waltz into the slot the way Swoboda did, that has to be considered a quality scoring chance. And Ron Hextall has faced about 4 real good Montreal chances in the last 6 or 7 minutes. 2 by Naslund, that one right there by Swoboda. But you know, one thing that Ron Hextall has been helped by, or a group that he's been helped by tonight, is his defensemen. Nobody got there for a rebound. There was only a Flyer in front of him. Nobody got there for a deflection. So while Ron Hextall, sure, he's had to make some good saves, the Flyers, all of the Flyers people are playing strong enough defense to really give him enough protection that nobody can get there, even on these power plays, for rebounds or for deflection.
It's interesting, it's not often that a goaltender will get a helping hand from someone on the ice, particularly a guy in stripes, but Wayne Bonney helped speed things along there. Now Hextall banging the pipes again, awaits the face-off between Sutter and Skrudland. Puck one back to Chelios, fires one, and that hit a leg on the way to the net. Down to the ice goes Howe, over the top of him comes McPhee, and it looks as though this is a penalty to the Canadiens, and now McPhee moves in, trying to get the Flyers to respond and maybe cancel it out. Chelios had Samuelson locked up for a moment. The whistle was blown when the Canadiens had possession, and it looked as though it was going to be McPhee for taking down Howe. Right now, that seems the only penalty that'll be called with 7 minutes and 16 seconds to go in the second period on Derek Smith's goal. Earlier in this period, it's the Flyers 1 and the Canadiens nothing.
Mike McPhee is the guilty man for Montreal. Right there, he held Mark Howe. It is holding. No other penalties came from what you're looking at on the screen, but we're even strength right now. Dave Poulin has 27 seconds to go in his penalty, at which point the Flyers will be on the power play for 1:33.
Wayne Bonney lecturing Keith Acton, and now the face-off conducted between him and Corson, and Gainey able to walk away, playing it back to Green. Green hands to Larry Robinson. Robinson watched by Acton, shakes one back to the turning Gainey. Brought back up by Rick Green. In 10 seconds, the Flyers will get a man back, and the puck given up to Terry Karkner. Karkner has Sinicello breaking, plays one, too stiff for Acton. Punched along by Green, and now scooped up by Corson. 1 second, out of the box comes Poulin, and the Flyers now have 1 minute and 32 seconds of a power play underway. Larry Robinson weaves his way along. Force one to the corner, and then will come back to neutral ice to await the next Flyers rush. 16 shots Montreal, 13 for the Flyers. Poke check by Carbonneau, and Murphy is able to come across and cut it off. So the Flyers get a scare, and Murphy pursued by Carbonneau again. And it is Eklund, as the Guy chant, which was always for Guy Lafleur, has come up for Guy Carbonneau. Now it is Eklund bringing it further. Moves it along to Murphy. Murphy dumps it in deep, and Eklund is there. To the slot, it's Prop, and the puck to Howe, and a wrist shot. Knocked down. Prop with a shot, and it went wide. Now it's Eklund again, looking for Kerr, getting Murphy, then over to Howe. Back to Murphy. Finesses back to Eklund. Murphy, one-timer, and that went off the skate of Green. Brushed by Kerr, taken by Howe. 35 seconds of power play time as he banks one over to Eklund. Ellie Eklund controlling, and Robinson moved toward him. Eklund gets some more room, and a pass for Prop that was too hard. Then along for Eklund, but it's scooped up by Carbonneau, and Carbonneau controlling, trying to get away from the hook reach of Kerr, and is able to bring it back. Here comes Guy Carbonneau, sized up by Mark Howe, tries to get by around in front, and he went into the back of Hextall. The net became dislodged after Carbonneau had bumped into it, and then wound up rushing into the back of Ron Hextall, who is chattering with him at the goal mouth.
Well, you know, I really think Carbonneau had the option of going around behind the net. But he has been a one-man forechecking machine on this kill right here. He stopped Terry Carter in the neutral zone and on that play, moved it away from Gord Murphy. Sooner or later, you got to realize that one-on-one, you better get rid of it pretty quickly when Carbonneau's coming in at you. Now here's a scoring chance. The puck is going in front. Now, at that point, Carbonneau could have elected to go behind the net, but he just jammed out in front. The post got part of him. Ron Hextall got the rest of him.
Looked like he was going for Hextall there, too.
He did. That's why I said I think he had the option of actually avoiding Hextall and going behind the net.
Skrudland wins this one back to Chris Chelios. Chelios given a bump by Sutter. And the puck held to the boards with 8 seconds to go now in the power play to the Flyers. Only one goal in the game, that even strength from Derek Smith. Sinisalo assisting at 3:53. Like almost every one of these Canadians, he spent some time in the minors, learning his trade. Very few players have ever seen time for Montreal, jumping from the junior ranks right up to the major leagues. Here is Ludwig, and Ludwig drops one back deep. Hextall out to collar that one. Keane moving toward him. So Hextall just floats it around for Jeff Chikrin. Teams are at full strength with 5:10 to go in the second period. For that reason, there'll be an icing here. And the puck will come back near Hextall. Actually, I thought we were going to go wide open for a while in this second period, but now it's gone back conservative again, which I think is what both teams want.
Well, the Flyers wouldn't mind a little more skating room. Sure, they have to play tight at this stage of a series against a team that plays as tight as Bobby Smith and his Canadiens. But Bobby Clark really had an interesting quote, I thought, today. He said, "We've tried everything. We're looking for a spark, but it's as if we're skating in a closet." That's just how small the ice surface seems when Montreal plays their defensive game the way they've played it in this series. But tonight, the Flyers game, 1-0 with 5:05 to go in the second period. That's sure not much of a cushion, but it's way bigger than the cushion that they've had in the last week.
Ron Sutter able to reach that pass from Karkner, then Keane turned it back toward Mats Naslund. Naslund for the Canadiens, pursued by Sutter, hands to Ludwig, then it is tipped by Keane, slugged back by Poulin and taken by Mellanby. Mellanby up the wing, big drive, and it went wide. Around the boards, and Karkner forced off by the checking of Keane. Chelios able to stagger to the ice and play ahead, has to react again and dumps it off this time for Naslund. Golfs it on the backhand over to Bobby Smith. Shovels one that Chelios will be able to hold in. Chris Chelios moves in, fires, stick, save, Hextall. Keane goes down. And the loose puck is sent right in on Hextall, and we get the stoppage of play. There'll be another penalty coming up, this time to the Flyers, as Mike Keane sat right down near the front of the net. Montreal will have its 4th power play and a chance to knock the game with the man advantage.
Well, Ron Sutter is off. I guess it's called holding. It doesn't really matter. Montreal had the Flyers under attack, and Ron Sutter was matched up with Mike Keane. Let's see if we can see it. Watch Sutter, 14, and Keane. Now watch Keane here. He'd make the Wright brothers proud with that one. He was being held by Ron Sutter for a moment, but to make it look good, he just decided to get airborne. He just jumped in the air and then fell down onto the ice.
Canadiens will use Bobby Smith with Lemieux on the right and Naslund on the left. Puck hooked along to the boards, and fighting loose is Lemieux, turning it over to Naslund. Naslund pestered by Poulin. Lemieux slams out to the boards and gets it back over to Bobby Smith. Smith looks for Lemieux and got it back out in front, but it was knocked away. Now Chelios hurries over to Swoboda. Swoboda finesses over to Naslund, creeping around in front, couldn't backhand it home. Loose puck in a big battle there, but it winds up out of the sight of Dennis Morel, though in ours, and we get a stoppage of play.
You know, Montreal had a chance for a good shot from the point on this power play, but Dave Poulin made a good move by getting between the shooter and the net, and then Shell Samuelson was just moving people out in front, left and right. That's why Naslund decided, gee, I can't get it through the screen. I'm going to try and go around it. But by that time, he was at a sharp enough angle that Ron Hextall could see where he was coming from. Smothered him off pretty well. 1-0 still, Flyers lead. 4:03 to go in the second. 1:39 to go on the penalty to Ron Sutter. And the man that's on the spot, and it's going to be until this game is over, Ron Hextall, has been strong and strong enough tonight.
Off the face-off, Smith slithered one wide, moving in as Chelios. It's dropped back off by Prop. Peter Svoboda curls with the puck, has Naslund on his left, and he flips it off the stick of Dave Poulin. Lemieux goes barreling in, and Howe right on him. Bobby Smith sees it come loose, and Naslund tried to point it, got it back to Svoboda. Peter Svoboda hands back over to Chelios, then to Svoboda again, then Chelios once more. Deliberately, they work it to the outside. Svoboda again, hooks it to Chelios, then to Smith. 1:05 to go on the power play. Smith fakes the drive, and then to Chelios. One-timer, and that one hits Svoboda. Svoboda scoops it up as we're down to the last 55 seconds. His drive, pads up Hextall. Rebound scooped wide by the fallen Lemieux. Samuelson locks up with Naslund. Still the battle on, and Samuelson able to clear it back down. A beleaguered shift will be changed for the Flyers as Kartner steps out. So also Pelly Eklund, Derek Smith, and Jeff Chikrin. Chelios hammers one to the corner glass again. It's squibbed behind, and Hextall sails it back off the stick of Robinson and down. Half a minute to go on the man advantage, and under 3 minutes to play in the second period. The Flyers are ahead 1-0 as Derek Smith checks off Corson. Delayed offside is now wiped. Meanwhile, the puck turned right back over, and Kartner sends it high to the air. It plops back near Robinson. Banks it along for Chelios, and Chelios will lead it ahead. Sized up by Kartner. Chelios a drive, and he missed the long side. Robinson has to regather at center ice. 2 seconds, 1 second, and the Flyers have killed it off again. Chelios has a man breaking Walter off his skate, and it's poked away by Hextall. Here's Corson pivoting with it. Wrist shot, and that one went off the glass. Now Robinson jams it back to the corner. Corson given a hit by Kartner. Stepping right back to it is Corson. Robinson nearby. Two aside continue the battle for it in the corner as we're down to the last 2:05 of this period. The teams are at full strength. Dennis Morrell patiently watching, and the puck squirts right by him. Picked up by Robinson, trying to turn away from Ron Sutter. Forced right back, and Kartner wants to outbody Corson. Got the stick up high on him, and Dennis Morrell says no. Still the battle on. Sutter pinned it up against the boards, and Richer is there, and now we get the stoppage of play. Corson and Terry Kartner with a battle on their hands constantly during all of that play in the corner.
I thought Morrell might call one on Corson, though, Mike. At the end of that sequence, he just reared and threw a straight left that caught Jeff Chikrin and knocked his helmet half off, or at least caught Terry Kartner. Ron Hextall getting a much-deserved rest and a drink. There's one of the shots on the power play by Peter Svoboda. That was a poor percentage play, and you don't see Montreal make many of them, but Peter Svoboda wound up for that great big blast without a screen. But most of the time there was a screen. There is Lemieux in front of Hextall. He's taking wood from Samuelson and from Hextall. But when the shot gets ready to come, very often Shel Samuelson will just move right into him and move him out of the way.
Carbonneau and Acton for the draw. 1:44 to go in this, the second period of play. It's been a hard-fought contest. Flyers have been frozen at 13 shots in this period for quite a while. Canadians have 18. Acton and Carbonneau are set. Puck to the glass, and Mark Howe is able to play. As Acton making the sweep in the corner, works the other side, though, to Samuelson. Back out for Kerr, but he couldn't take it, and so Svoboda is back pursued tightly by Secord. They shovel it behind, and Acton has it and threw it to the slot, but Carbonneau is back checking. Guy Carbonneau brings it back up ice for the Canadiens. Feeds on the wing, and Courtnall is in. Pad stop made by Hextall. And we get a stoppage of play as the net has been dislodged.
And I think it's a Montreal Canadien, Mike, that actually banged into it. Morrell motioned right after the play stopped for the faceoff to come outside the blue line, and Guy Carbonneau slammed his stick down. He didn't want to kill that play. Here's Courtnall's shot, but watch Hextall take a stride out here to make sure he was out to cut down the angle. Now, he is relying on the support people coming back to try and take the loose guys. You can see that a Montreal Canadien was there first, but Ron Hextall was able to control his own rebound on that one.
Carbonneau and Poulin for the face-off that comes back to Jay Wells. Slides it back over to Murphy. Behind Sinisalo and down. Rick Green back to take it as we hit the final minute and 10 seconds of this second period. Flyers have played a strong game tonight. It is reflected not so much in the shot totals and not really that much on the scoreboard. It is 1-0. The Flyers are ahead. Carbonneau starts back up. He's got Courtnall on the right and shoves it over to him. Courtnall takes a look, drops it off to Green, who sweeps in. Got away from Poulin. Green tried to tuck one behind Hextall, and he was able to deflect it away as Ron Hextall seemed for a moment to have been beaten, but he was able to get his skate down and deflect it back across. Offside called against the Flyers, and with 37 seconds left in the second, it is still 1-0.
Well, there's the guy that had a scoring chance, but you know, you expect Rick Green to pass off sooner or later. I thought he would dump it out, but here he comes. Watch this. He moves by Poulin. You think, well, Rick Green's going to pass here. No way. He even tries another move to go by Ron Hextall. Sometimes the element of surprise is a big weapon. And Rick Green, while he's one of the top defensive defensemen in the NHL, doesn't make many rushes like that, but he came real close to tying this game.
That's a good point, because you could see Hextall start to give him a little bit of the net.
You think he's going to dump off to somebody in the slot sooner or later.
Karkner glasses it. Roy sets it up. And it is Ludwig. Flipping one off for Lemieux. Checked by Ron Sutter. Coming by to get it. It's dropped back to Karkner. Shovels one, and that's scooped up by Roy. And he will wait.
Boy, it's so tight, isn't it, Mike, when you see the way these teams play? If you just watch the saves that the goalies made and how they put the puck back into play, you'd know how tight it was. Patrick Roy not taking any chance right there. And sure, Ron Hextall has been able to dump it out quite a bit, but those have only been on the dump-ins that he's been able to corral behind his net. We saw Hextall in the first period really smother a lot of pucks and hold them for face-offs rather than put them back into play, which is really his preference against most teams.
11 shots for Montreal in the period and 7 for the Flyers. In the game, 19-14. Very few statistics in this one. 6 minors to the Flyers and 4 to Montreal. And the 1 goal to Derek Smith. Off the face-off, puck kick from Sutter to Howe. Wrist shot, and that went off the glass. 15 seconds to play in the period as McPhee flips one that clicked off of Corson. Trying to reach it is Grudlin. He cancels with Sutter. Floated up the wing by Corson, and here comes McPhee. Watched by Samuelson. McPhee back behind the net. And Mellenby and Samuelson double-team him, though it is swung back by Corson as the siren goes to end this second period of play. Smith with his 5th goal of the playoffs, his 2nd of this series from Ilka Sinisalo, the lone goal off a Flyer stick at 3:53 of the second period. The shots on goal, 11-7. Montreal with the advantage, and in the game, 19-14. Thrilling first 2 periods here at the Forum in Montreal. With the score, the Flyers 1, the Canadiens nothing. Let's return to our studio.
And the company